bring a very special episode from the Noongar country. I have two incredible guests, very appropriate for this week's NBL1 round, which is Indigenous round. And without further ado, I think it's appropriate to introduce Tahlia Fejo and Jazz Fejo as well, and allow them to bring in this week's episode.
Right. Hey guys, Tahlia Fejo. I'm just going to do an acknowledgement. I acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on Wadjak land, on Noongar country.
Hi guys, I'm Jasmin. I acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on Ghana land.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Incredible. And I know it's sorry to put you out on the spot there, but Jazz, obviously a West Adelaide and Adelaide Lightning guard, proud Larrakia woman, Tahlia, East Perth Eagle, former Perth Lynx development player, maybe bring you back the way you're playing at the moment, and as well as a proud Larrakia woman as well. I want to obviously acknowledge the fantastic contributions you guys have made to Indigenous basketball in Australia, and as well as your own communities. Straight off the bat, in that regard, how important is this week, not just for the NBL1, but for NAIDOC week in itself has been for yourself?
Yeah, so it's very important. We as a Indigenous people are very proud, and we take a lot of pride in displaying our culture, especially on, elite platforms such as, the AFL, NBL, WNBL, whatever level we can. We really love to get it out there. So yeah, for a lot of our elders, they were denied their culture to display it in any way, particularly the stolen generation. So as me and Jazz being, from a younger generation, I see that it's almost our duty to, display our culture in a very positive way. And, it's okay to be so proud about our culture and, get it out there. So yeah, to me, that's why I find it very important.
Jazz, yourself?
Yeah, for me, for especially seeing our generation growing up, it's definitely amazing seeing how all different platforms are showing it. So for us, basically what Tahlia said, but it's just it's amazing to see, because in the past you never really had that many people, especially our culture, it's just a lot of, yeah.
Absolutely. And I was on your Instagram before, and obviously you acknowledge the tremendous artwork that's been on the jerseys, but the amazing things that's being done not only in Adelaide itself, but all across Australia. Jazz, how's that sort of been, that communication with your own family in terms of that growth? Has it been refreshing to see how much celebration is around this round?
Oh yeah, definitely. Seeing all the teams and all of that, getting around our culture, so it's really good. So yeah, sorry, I'm just really
You're all right, mate. Charlie, East Perth, you had the honour of being involved in correct me if I'm wrong, involved with the jersey design, and worked with the incredible Tamara Hayden, who her artwork is absolutely sensational. Talk to me about the design itself. What drove you to come up with that? There's obviously the Eagles, the centerpiece, but we know there's so much more than just the artwork that's involved. Yeah,
so personally with the design, I didn't actually put much into it. I was more so the person that just connected the dots. I totally understand that Noongar people aren't particularly me, but I connect with them on the way that, that's my partner's mob, that's his people, and I didn't want to put too much into it that wasn't necessarily connected to this land. So when I spoke to Tamara, I was just hey, Arnie, you're amazing. I've seen your art. It's absolutely amazing. So I was pretty much hey, can you help us with this design? You pretty much have free range over it. And if there's a story to go with it, can you, send it to us? So that design, the eagle design, comes from, I think, her grandmother, and there's a whole story behind it. I can't exactly go into too much detail about it. I know what the story is. I just don't want to get any of it wrong, but it's really cool, and I'm pretty sure it's up on our website. So at East Perth, if anyone wants
What was that feeling, seeing the design develop or getting that first initial like draft piece, and then even just seeing the jersey for the first time? What did that mean to you?
I got goosebumps. I thought that they looked amazing, and I was like, surely no other NBL1 team is going to have as dirty uniform as we. I was so excited. I was like, this is amazing. And then I heard it printed really well, and I was like, oh my goodness, I need to see this. And unfortunately, I don't get to see it until tonight, but I am so keen to see it. I'm so excited. I've been hearing so much about it from the club president and everything. They're like, oh, they look amazing. You know, I'm like, of course they look amazing. Tammy did it. She's an amazing artist. So like, I'm super keen to see it.
And
so Uncle Paddy, I wasn't like involved, but I was actually there when he was designing it, because what was it? This was like last year, or when was COVID actually? 2020. That's when COVID happened. Yeah. So, because Uncle Paddy, he was just randomly doing like designing, like just playing around on his like this paper and everything, and then he started making one up. I know the story behind it. It's on our West page, but I don't want to be like Tahlia said, I don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah, do it disrespecting, absolutely. And I would encourage everyone to. It's been a nice little educational piece, looking at each design and understanding, you know, what the meaning behind it is. I would encourage everyone in that. And in that sort of nice little segue, and obviously there's the positives that have come with the NBL run, but I think it's an important part of reconciliation, and NAIDOC Week is acknowledging, unfortunately, the past truths and the history that comes with it. And you spoke about it earlier before, Tahlia, in terms of your elders, unfortunately, were restricted in terms of, you know, their opportunities and that light. I want to go back to it, and feel free if you're not comfortable to sort of share, but your own experiences growing up, you know, as an Indigenous player. Those opportunities exist. Do you still see, unfortunately, the barriers? I've experienced barriers firsthand for Indigenous peoples. Can you speak about your experiences, both of you, growing up in that regard?
Yeah, so our experiences are slightly different, but there are a fair few similarities. I think we were very lucky to have, not very lucky, I think very blessed that we decided to pick West Adelaide to do a lot of our growing up, like juniors and everything with basketball. They are definitely a club that has, you know, really looked out for all of their Indigenous players, as well as just, it's a real great family vibe. Like, yeah, we had, me and Jazzy definitely had a lot of people looking out for us, whether it was umpiring. Like, our mum told us if we wanted cash, if we wanted to make some money, we'd have to go and earn it. So naturally, we both kind of just segued into umpiring. So we had a lot of support from, you know, coaches, umpires, team managers. Often had coaches picking us up, dropping us off. You know, because we come from a pretty big family where, you know, mum couldn't always get us around to where we needed to go, but we definitely had, you know, teammates and parents that were like, oh no, it's easy, we can pick them up, we can drop them off, it's all good. Like, the support we had was amazing. And for a long time, I don't think for us, it wasn't noticeable that we were the different type of person in the group. I think the time when it came clear to me that I was, you know, different, I was Indigenous, was probably on some of the state trips. Not saying like the girls I went with, they were really cool, but it was just the difference in growing up, and, you know, them being like, oh yeah, like a couple of times, like, oh yeah, we got to do the dishes, I really don't want to do dishes, all of this stuff. And I'm just like, you know, we have to do dishes all the time in our house. Like, it's not uncommon. And just like little, you know, lifestyle kind of situations where we're like, oh shoot, we didn't have all of those things, all the opportunities. We like really had to, you know, make our way, organize our lifts, and, you know, work hard into getting into different programs and stuff like that. Like those moments are probably the only ones that I can think of that really stood out for me, that made me look around and be like, oh shoot, you know, I'm the odd kid out. And the only like other than that, I think growing up when we hit Premier League, SBO, whatever they call it, we called in Adelaide. At that time when I started playing, there were 5 Indigenous players, and 2 of them were me and Jazz. And that was across like the whole league in South Australia. Like Jamie Lee Parrish was one of them, Kadisha Canary was one of them, and Amber Koenig was the other. Like that's not a lot of players, but you know, at the same time, every time we saw one of playing against one of each other, it was always hey, how you going after the game, like having a good old catch up. And then mum and dad would come over and talk to their parents. It was really cool, very like heartwarming kind of situation. So yeah, that's pretty much my experience.
Speak about that lack of representation back then, Tahlia. I mean, you're heavily involved. And for those that don't know, Benar Basketball, which is an Aboriginal basketball organisation here in Western Australia, that do absolutely amazing things. And you spoke about that. You're sort of a keen piece of that. Do you feel like it's your responsibility to give back to youth in that regard? And obviously, you spoke about the opportunity, but maybe the lack of, or to try and help them succeed in terms of further development?
Yeah, no, as much as I can, I like to get involved, and I like to, you know, just be there for some of the kids. Because if you look at it, some of these kids, the situations that they go through are a lot different to ours. And it's like, if I can help this kid just to remember, you know, you can still have dreams, you can still go and, you know, go after what you really want in life. Like that's okay for you to want and for you to have. And if I can help you in any way, whether it just be like coaching you or just encouraging you on the sidelines, like I'm all for it. So yeah.
Jazz, experiences with the WNBL, the NBL1, I mean, how's it been for yourself?
Yeah, it's been good. Well, with like WNBL, I've only been like a development player, which was 2019, 2020. Yeah.
Yep.
So with that, it was like a really good experience, like going from, well, it was Premier League back then, and then transferring all that into WNBL. It was really good. Like definitely a massive jump, but it's exciting. NBL1 now is actually like, it's gotten a lot harder. It's a lot tough. Like it's definitely changed over the years, like when I first came in. So it's really interesting. Like a lot of players have grown and got a lot of players back from college and everything. So it's really good. Yeah. Hard level.
Absolutely. Now, we can't go without acknowledging the fantastic news last night. Paddy Mills is the flag bearer for Australia. I want to start with you first, Jazz. I mean, talk to me about that. I mean, how did that make you feel? I mean, is it still today you just looking at that with pure joy and jubilation?
Oh my gosh, it's like amazing, like seeing that, and it's definitely like so inspiring, like especially growing up and seeing him like carry the flag. It's just hasn't really hit me yet. Like it's just so, like I'll go back to like seeing Paddy Mills, like his Instagram page, and then seeing him with it's just good. Sorry.
No, absolutely. It's that going to be that moment of where were you when it was sort of announced. Jazz, I mean, we spoke about the growth in 5 players in the Premier League, you know, all those years ago. Now there's over 70 NBL1 First Nation players, and sort of showing that growth over a few years, and they will only continue to grow. What would it mean to see, I mean, obviously Paddy Mills and is a flag bearer and that representation, but to see more First Nations people in the NBL, or, you know, getting the coverage that, they deserve in that space?
It'll be like just getting a lot more people in, like it'll just be great. Like I think we have a lot of talented players that I've seen. Speaking from like my age group level, like there is definitely a lot of like talented players. So like seeing them, you know, go from like young ones to like older and everything, how they build up and all that, gaining their confidence, like it would definitely be good to see them in the like higher levels. So
absolutely. Tahlia, your thoughts? I mean, You were involved with Paddy's Indigenous Basketball Association. The tournament's unfortunately postponed for some time. You were a coach, if I'm correct, in that regard. I mean, are you feeling like sort of the bubble's going to burst in a little bit? There's just going to be, we're seeing it's a more diverse representation. We saw off the under-19s EMU team in terms of representation there. Are you excited for what's the potential for your sort of your community?
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. It's just like I feel like the talent has always kind of been there. It's just, you know, coaches are coming around to giving the opportunities to more Indigenous players. Like the work ethic, the natural athleticism, like it's pretty crazy with some of these young kids that are coming up, and I see it firsthand at all of our Binar sessions. But yeah, like with all the stuff that's going on at those trainings, it's like it's hard to not give these kids a chance. Like I remember, I think last year or the year before, Binar ended up putting in almost every age group in state champs. And you know, I coached the under 10 girls, and we were so good. Like those girls were amazing. We had one girl that traveled all the way from up north, traveled all day to get there in time to play for that one weekend. And she was absolutely phenomenal. The effort she put in, like she had a bit of a traveling habit, but you know, she was there to learn. It was under 10, you know, which kid doesn't travel in under 10s, right?
Still traveling.
And it was just like it was so good to watch. Like we ended up going through undefeated, and we had one training session, and I had a lot of parents turn around looking at us and they're like, "Oh, those kids are really good. Like how long have you guys been training?" And I was like, I had one training session with 4 girls, and they picked it up. I taught them one thing. The one thing I taught them was if I say spacing, everyone gets out 3-point line. That was all I had the chance to teach them. And like, they really hooked onto it. It was great. So like, and that's just at like the youngest level. Like, imagine what we can do with the kids that are coming up to like adulthood and stuff. Like it's really like, I got so much to look forward to.
No, absolutely. Now, you're both proud Larrakia women. Jazz, first off to you. I mean, how important is your culture to you, and can you touch on your experiences growing up in that regard?
Yeah, definitely important to us. It's up to me as well, our family. With us, it was a bit hard growing up because, like, having Dad and his parents part of the stolen generation, like, it was very hard for Dad to like speak about his his culture, I guess. Yeah, so like we knew like bits and pieces of it, like of Larrakia Nation, but I think it started to come like only, when was it, like for us to actually be more involved in our culture when we went to AIB, like the Australian Indigenous Basketball. Like that's when, you know, that's when I wanted to get more involved in my culture. So,
and that's amazing. I mean, how did you feel like embracing it? I mean, that was like, what was that journey like for yourself?
Yeah, it was definitely like, it was exciting. Like, just not saying like I had a missing piece, I guess, like, you know, growing up, but like just knowing, I always knew I was like part of Larrakia Nation, but knowing a bit more about it every time. Like Dad's a little bit more open now, like as we get more involved in our culture, but like it's still a bit touchy subject, but that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't define trauma in that regard. Tahlia, yourself?
We grew up more so learning a lot more of like, you know, in a way, like, I don't want this to sound weird, but like we got a white mum and a black dad. So like we grew up more on the white side with like a lot of mum stuff, just because, you know, family situation in Darwin is a little bit different to, you know, Adelaide, and we had a lot of education and stuff in Adelaide. So our connections to culture we got through our uncles, our aunties, and our dad. And then the trauma that Dad went through, Dad wouldn't talk about it much, which sucked. But as like Jazzy said, as we got older, Dad was open to talking about it. And then I guess when like me and my partner got together, I saw a whole nother side of culture, which was really cool. Like Troy's family is so involved with their culture. Like Troy absolutely loves his Aboriginal dancing, and you can see it when he dances. Like he is so focused, he is so in the moment of dancing, and it's just like I get to watch that all the time when he does his dances, and I'm like, I have so much pride seeing him being so prideful about his culture. So like I just love seeing it, and I love getting involved, and any chance I get to learn about it, I'm always asking Troy and his dad questions. And then with like some of the Binnar kids, I'm like, hey, you guys know more about this than I do, like give me some of that, I want to know. Like it's really cool. So yeah.
We talk about our learnings, and whoever wants to answer first. We've seen that growth. Obviously, there's now a recognised Indigenous round. There's one in the NBL. It's been run for the last 2 years, and we see organisations, specifically sports, start developing and implementing reconciliation action plans. I mean, for you guys that are involved, personally, and would speak on the benefits of this, where do you see as the next steps? As a league, as a basketball club, as members of the basketball sort of community to continue with that growth, so it extends beyond your Indigenous round or your NAIDOC weeks. I mean, where do you see that as those opportunities for growth?
Tahlia, you up?
You see, for me, I think it's just giving Indigenous kids a fair go. Like, that's probably as basic as I can put it. Like, there is so much talent, and there's so many kids that are really pushing for it, but they get knocked back once or twice or a couple of times, and they're just like, oh, I don't even know if I should keep going for it anymore. Like, we were so lucky that mum would always push us, and mum was always encouraging us, and we had older siblings that would encourage us as well. And like, I know I encouraged Jazzy a lot. If she got knocked back from basketball, I was like, hey, don't worry, just like, we can go shoot outside or something, we can work on it. Like, it's just giving that support around to the younger generation or the younger people to just keep giving it a go. And I think sometimes it's like looking at the organizations and being like, hey, is there any reason why we aren't giving these kids a fair go? Like, that's my question that I would pose, because we've done a really good job of recognizing Indigenous culture and displaying it, but it's a different thing to display it than to just really get the incorporation of Indigenous players going, which the Emus have done a really good job. They've incorporated like a fair bit of young talent, and it's amazing. But I'm like, let's just keep going with that. That's all I can say about it, I reckon. So
absolutely. Jazz, anything on that?
No,
or she nailed it again?
I was like, definitely giving like the younger generation, like giving them a go, like doing more camps, I guess, to recognize the younger talent. So
no, absolutely. Now we'll touch on NBL1, and then we'll have to we'll speak about that. How has the NBL1 Central been for yourself, Jasmine? You're getting buckets. I know we'll speak about you becoming a new mum, I guess. How's it been? How's the adjustment been? Lack of sleep? How's it all going?
It's definitely challenging. Like, I love like having Brooklyn. Like, I love him and everything. So it's very rewarding. So yeah, but definitely challenging from last year to like now. It's definitely like a new body, and I have to learn to like, I know this is like his only 4.5 months, so I just literally had him 4.5 months ago, so I still need to slow it down and take my time, but slowly getting there. But yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm sure it'll come sooner than later. Tahlia, you guys are on a bit of a roll. I mean, I think you beat the top 4 teams, all 3 of the top 4 in consecutive weeks. I mean, how's it been? I mean, for everyone listening, East Perth have been regarded as sort of the cellar dwellers for a number of seasons. I mean, and you're part of the transformation. I spoke to Blake, and he sort of said you were, I guess, the catalyst of the reason why you guys are so successful. How has the season been for yourself?
The season has been amazing. To be honest, like the team chemistry that we have at the moment is really good. Like, everyone's getting along. I take a lot of pride in talking to the younger players and really encouraging them and giving them, my 2 cents, whatever it's worth. But like, I honestly believe in, you know, growing our talent. That's like at West Adelaide, the motto is like, we breed champions and stuff like that. So at East, I try to take that into East Perth as much as I can and be like, all right, cool. Let's get our younger ones ready to go, as well as, hey guys, we need as the older group, as the veterans, as the leadership group, whatever it is, we need to be pushing them, because if we don't push them, who's going to push them, right? At training sessions, like I've given a few elbows out to a couple of girls where I'm like, oh yeah, you guys, like, either you hit me or I'm gonna keep hitting you. Like, that's your options, really. So like it's actually, I'm so excited. Like I don't think I've ever been this hyped to be on a team before, and that, like, I've been on a lot of teams. So like these girls are absolutely phenomenal, and the coaching staff's pretty cool too. So yeah.
What's the ambitions for yourself? Is it both to get back in the WNBL, or are you more happy or comfortable with just enjoying the game? Where are you guys at the moment in that regard?
For me, I hit a spot last season where I wasn't really sure if I wanted to keep playing basketball. But this season has totally changed my mind. I'm like, the team's great, the chemistry's great. I feel like I've definitely gone up since last season of my skills and of my performance, and my fitness has gone up slightly. I needed it to go up a little bit more for me to be able to get back to a WNBL, you know, team. But I'm kind of in the boat where if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, like, I'm okay. Me and Troy are kind of hitting some life goals at the moment. Like, we're meant to be getting married in October, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, so if the opportunity comes around, I'm definitely going to take it. But at the same time, I'm kind of happy with where life's at the moment.
Absolutely. And how's the prep going for the wedding?
Not too bad. Almost everything is paid off. So like, we've got the big chunks and stuff out of the way. Troy pretty much said yes. Today he was like, oh babe, I'm gonna go look at, you know, suits tomorrow. I was like, you've waited, you know, you've taken your time on that, like.
When is it? Isn't it in October?
I've got like
October? You've got 2 months
looking at me now.
And Jazz, aspirations, ambitions, back WNBL, or what does it look like for yourself?
Yeah, definitely want to try and get back into shape for WNBL. Like, that's definitely always been my goal, to go to, like, play at the highest level I can. So definitely trying. I know I'm like I'm not the best, but I'm slowly getting back. So now it's just all about fitness and doing the extra stuff. So yeah, keen.
No, good luck with that. Look, guys, just want to finish on this note, and obviously thank you again. As we, you know, head into NBL1 and this weekend and the Indigenous round, just want to touch on that last little bit, and if you could sort of finish on that note. I mean, what does it mean? I mean, unfortunately for us in WA, Tahlia, we won't have the opportunity to run out in front of family in that regard, or just limited capacity. But I mean, can you just sort of speak on what it will be mean to play, you know, such a significant round in front of you know, friends and family in that space?
Me, like doing that in front of like spectators, family, friends. But now that I have Brooklyn, it's definitely I'm doing it, like doing that for him. Like, it's definitely good for him to know where his culture is coming from and all of that. So
okay, will we see a little cameo of him on the court at some point? Just you bring him on during the warm-ups or after the game?
I'm hoping. He's starting to hold himself up, so when he starts to get a bit more stronger, definitely.
Absolutely. And Tahlia, yourself?
Yeah, well, I've kind of gotten used to not a lot of family being around to watch, which, you know, sucks. But at the same time, when they do show up, it's pretty special. I think I've done a good job of making like my own family here in WA. So I'm hoping, I've tried to organize some tickets for the Binar kids to come along. A lot of them are pretty keen on it, and they're really hoping that they can come out to watch. They're probably some of the best spectators. They go nuts for almost anything. It's great. Like, I love it. I love their energy so much. But like, for me, like, I take a lot of pride, and I put a lot of effort and work into this round. The conversation for this Indigenous round for me started right before I even signed the contract, I was like, hey, Blake, if I'm going to sign this contract, I really want to make sure that we get an Indigenous round in place at some point this year. Like, I definitely see that as being, that's one of my values. Like, this is my culture. My culture makes up a lot of my identity. So I thought it was very important for it to be displayed. So with that being said, I was just like, he was like, easy, we can sort that out. The club president was right behind me. He was like, yep, no, that's great. Give us the design and we'll get it sorted straight away. So like the club as a whole has supported this opportunity and this journey of putting a design together, and it was absolutely amazing. But yeah, like it's a lot, especially when I don't have my family around to watch. Being able to be like, yeah, this is for me, this is for my family, this is for my culture. Like, this is for so many different reasons, but for me, this is closest to like my family being able to hug me in a way. But also there is a Samoan girl on our team, and she's been away from her family for a little bit. And I was like, hey, I know that our cultures are pretty similar. And you are a First Nation people of your own country. So I've tried to like stitch up with her. I'm like, if there's anything you want to do on the day, you know, to help connect with you and your culture, because we are definitely a people that share a lot. So I was like, hey, this day, as much as it's for my people, like, I'd love it if you got involved, if there's anything you want to do. So yeah, she's like, man, that's so nice. Like, I wasn't gonna ask you, I didn't want to overshadow anything. I was like, hey, no, like, go for it. Like, this is for us to be prideful of who we are as people. And, you know, that culture is also a part of your mob, just it's on a slightly different country. So it's all good. But so, you know, it's a lot to look forward to.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Guys, really want to thank you for jumping on for this week's episode, especially on such a symbolic and significant round. You're both incredible basketball players, but more so incredible women, and you should be immensely proud of what you've accomplished on the court, but as well off the court. So thank you for jumping in and being my guest on this week's show of Stories of the NBL1. Guys, for everyone else, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in for this week's episode, and please stay tuned for the next episode, and please listen to this podcast through all your streaming devices, Apple, Spotify, or you can watch on YouTube.